How is it going, everyone? The PlayStation Store is running its year-end sale right now, and I'm here to take a look at some of the great deals under the price of $10. A lot of options at this price threshold. This sale is honestly one of the bigger sales that we've seen in a little while, but it is not going to be as big as the holiday sale that's going to kick off in a couple weeks. But nonetheless, a ton of deals on games and a lot of great stuff, so let's just get right into it. We got about 15 games to go over, so let's get right into it. And starting things off, we have Detroit Become Human, 50% off for $9.99. An absolutely fantastic narrative-driven game that I feel like Detroit Become Human, in 2025, I think it'll resonate with people even more than when it initially came out. I want to say it came out back in 2019. It's been a little bit. 2018 actually has been almost 8 years since Detroit initially dropped. Wow, what a year 2018 was. If you had Spider-Man, God of War, and Detroit, that's a pretty stacked year right there. For some reason, I thought Detroit was 2019. But nonetheless, this is a fantastic, fantastic pickup. A $9.99 is a great deal for Detroit. And again, a super narrative-heavy game, so if you're expecting action-oriented combat or anything like that, don't really get into it. But if you're looking for an incredibly compelling narrative, oh, Detroit's gonna give you that all day. It's very decision-based, and what I always say about the Quantic Dream titles is that you want to play these games blind. I know that people want certain things to happen and how the narrative will play out. However, the big aspect of this game and Quantic Dream games in general is that the decision-making has consequences, and you're mitigating that consequence if you just look up a guide and what choices to make leading to what ending. I don't think that's the way to play the game. I think you do it blind once and then, you know, do another playthrough if you want. Look at all of the different pathways and everything like that. That's fine. However, for your first playthrough, just kick back, relax. I mean, you're not really gonna relax playing this game, but just kick back, make the decisions, and suck it up and live with it. And I think Detroit, from that standpoint, you'll have a more engaging experience, let's put it that way. $9.99, great pickup there. KLONOA Phantasy Reverie Series, 75% off for $9.99. A great set of platformers here. And KLONOA, unfortunately, has never been a franchise that has really clicked with the larger gaming audience. And it's not like Bandai Namco hasn't tried. You had the original releases, you had the remake on Nintendo Wii, and then you had this release as well. However, as far as the quality of these games go, man, KLONOA is up there with the best platformers on the market. I really think it's that good. A 3D side-scrolling action platformer, and this one modernizes the games, updates them quite a lot, and you got both KLONOA 1 and 2 here, and for $9.99 a pop, I think that's quite good, so definitely a worthwhile pickup here with KLONOA. Door to Phantom Isle and KLONOA 2 Lunate's Veil, so $9.99 on that. We got South Park The Stick of Truth, 80% off for $5.99. I've said it before, I'm not a big South Park guy. However, South Park The Stick of Truth is an awesome, awesome RPG. It's one of those RPGs that's not super lengthy, so don't expect like a 40-hour game here, but it gets in and gets out at the right point, because I don't think a South Park game, if it was the length of, let's say, you know, some of the longer RPGs, it would work in the style of game that South Park is. South Park is more comedic, and mechanically, it's a really well-made RPG. The combat in the game is well done. It's got all of the humor that if you're a South Park fan, it's going to be right up your alley. And I'm somebody that was never a big South Park guy, and I still thought this game was hilarious. And I never had anything against South Park. I just never really sat down and watched the show like that. But yeah, $5.99 on this is great. And by the way, the game is done by Obsidian, Outer Worlds, Fallout New Vegas, etc., etc. But they did a great job with Stick of Truth. $5.99, great pickup on that. Borderlands Legendary Collection is 80% off for $9.99. This gets you Borderlands 1, Borderlands 2, Borderlands the pre-sequel, and the majority of the game's respective DLC. You're just missing Borderlands 2 Commander Lilith and the Fight for the Sanctuary, but you know what? That's not even a big deal. Borderlands is always gonna be a fairly fun time. However, like I said with Borderlands 4, I just don't think these games are worth $70 to $130. I think they're a lot of fun. I think they're great games to play while listening to a podcast as well, or if you're doing a co-op playthrough, obviously that's gonna be a lot of fun. However, this collection with all of these games for $9.99 is insane. The value you get here is crazy, and the amount of hours of gameplay you get is ridiculous, and I did think Borderlands 1 and 2, that was the peak of the franchise. Borderlands 2 especially, I think most people agree Borderlands 2 is the best game in the series. Borderlands 1 I still think is quite good, and then pre-sequel is fine as well. A lot of DLC content as well, a lot of replayability, and all that for 10 bucks is kind of ridiculous, so definitely recommend that. Tomb Raider Definitive Survivor Trilogy is 80% off for $9.99. You get Tomb Raider 2013, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider. All three of these games are fantastic. Rise of the Tomb Raider is the best in my opinion. Tomb Raider 2013 is really good. Shadow of the Tomb Raider is awesome as well. It's just narratively, it's not at the level of, let's say, ROTR. But yeah, all three games are great, and all three games for $9.99 is ridiculous. Tomb Raider 1, Tomb Raider 2013, I should say, is fairly short. There's some optional tombs and whatnot. Rise of the Tomb Raider adds a lot of side content and optional content where if you want to do everything, that game's a fairly sizable undertaking, and same can be said with Shadow of the Tomb Raider as well. Just a great collection of games, and now we wait for the next Tomb Raider game if that's ever gonna come out. Maybe we'll see an announcement soon, fingers crossed on that, especially with the Amazon series coming out. Next up, we have Hades, $9.99 for the base price, $7.49 if you're a Plus subscriber, which that's an excellent deal for Plus subscribers. Definitely a great pickup for Hades, one of the more stylish action roguelikes that you're gonna find, and a game that's been received incredibly, incredibly well. Hades 2 did come out, and obviously that game has been received really well, but Hades 1 for $9.99 is a great pickup. $7.49 if you're a Plus subscriber, a good pickup on that as well. Highly recommended, even though I didn't sink in the 200 plus hours that some of my buddies have, I still enjoyed the game for what it was. So yeah, great price on that. Far Cry 5 is 85% off for $8.99. Look, the Ubisoft open world games, I feel like most people know what they're getting themselves into. A lot of icons, a lot of optional content, things of that nature. And are the games for everybody? No, I actually think Far Cry 5 was a step down from Far Cry 3 and 4, but I still think it's a pretty fun open world game. And again, you kind of know what to expect out of Far Cry at this stage of the game. You do have a lot of microtransactions there, silver bars, you can buy all that. But nonetheless, as far as the single player campaign, I think it's worthwhile to go through. And for $8.99, a pretty good pickup there that I think is a good shout. Shadow of the Colossus is 50% off for $9.99. I played Shadow of the Colossus when it initially came out on the PlayStation 2. Loved it back then, and the game was way, way, way ahead of its time, and Bluepoint did a phenomenal job of remaking the game, and I really enjoyed the remake as well. The game, from a spectacle standpoint and scale standpoint, just thinking about the fact the original came out 20 years ago, and it's still, you know, this game is true to the original. It's pretty remarkable what, you know, Team Ico was able to accomplish 20 years ago. But this remake, really well done. Shadow of the Colossus from, like, an atmosphere standpoint, and obviously the gameplay with the boss battles and whatnot, it's just really, really remarkable and well done. $9.99, great pickup on that. Middle-earth The Shadow Bundle, 90% off for $6.99. You get Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor and Middle-earth Shadow of War. These are really solid open-world action RPGs. Combat is incredibly rewarding, gameplay and mechanics are great, and, you know, everybody seems to love the Nemesis system, which, unfortunately, still trademarked, but they did an absolutely tremendous job with Middle-earth The Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War. And look at all of the great games that they did, and what did that ultimately lead to? Them getting shut down. How about that? You can drop games like Fear and Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War and still end up getting shut down. If that doesn't tell you that game development is harsh, I don't know what will. But next up, we've got a lot of JRPGs. Let's just go through these fairly quickly, so the people that aren't into them can just skip quickly. Tales of Symphonia Remastered is 75% off for $9.99. I think a very good JRPG. I know a lot of people think that this is the best Tales of game. I personally didn't receive it at that level, but you know what? Everybody can have their opinion on the Tales of games, and a lot of people do think this is the best, and hey, try it out for yourself. Maybe you'll think it's the best as well, but a good pickup there. Just is a little bit dated given that it's initially a GameCube game. Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition is 80% off for $9.99. I did a playthrough of this not too long ago. I want to say, yeah, it was literally December of last year into January of this year, and I really enjoyed the game. Certainly, there are some dated elements to it, but this game is hard carried by the main character, Yuri, who is like the most likable JRPG character I don't want to say of all time, but he's in the upper echelon of most likable JRPG characters. The rest of the cast is fairly good. The story does become your typical, you know, save the world JRPG story, but nothing really too wrong with that. Soundtrack is great, visuals still hold up with the art style, and I think it's a very, very good game. $9.99, a good pickup on that. Scarlet Nexus is 85% off for $8.99. I think this game is super underrated. I love Scarlet Nexus. You have 2 playable main characters and 2 playable story routes as well. That makes the game worthwhile to go through it twice, albeit, you know, a single playthrough isn't super lengthy, but still very much worthwhile to go through it twice. Soundtrack is great, gameplay is enjoyable. Narratively, I'm not gonna say it's blow away, like it's a little bit all over the place, but I still enjoyed it from a story standpoint. $8.99 I think is a good pickup for Scarlet Nexus. Ni no Kuni Wrath of the White Witch Remastered, 80% off for $9.99. A really, really solid JRPG with a great art style. In the PlayStation 3 era, I feel like a lot of people thought Ni no Kuni was like the best JRPG of that era. It really came down to Ni no Kuni, and I guess you could throw Lost Odyssey in there as well as some of the best JRPGs in that era. But yeah, a great pickup, $9.99, great art style, gameplay solid, and one to check out here for sure. Kind of unfortunate that Ni no Kuni as an IP has kind of been benched. I mean, Ni no Kuni 1 came out in like 2010, and then Ni no Kuni 2 did come out. Unfortunately, we haven't heard anything more. But maybe at some point they'll go back to it. Mega Man Zero ZX Legacy Collection is 67% off for $9.89. I think this is a pretty good deal given all of the content that you get. Now, bear in mind, these are Game Boy Advance games and Nintendo DS games, so they're going to show their age quite a bit. You get Mega Man Zero 1 through 4, Mega Man ZX, and Mega Man ZX Advent, which ZX and ZX Advent, in my opinion, are 2 of the most underrated Mega Man games of all time. They are awesome. They're Metroidvania-esque Mega Man titles, and they're done very, very well. Zero 1 through 4, very much on the shorter side, super challenging, but worthwhile, you know, Mega Man games to go through. $9.89 on that. And then lastly, I'll give a shout to Pentiment, 50% off for $9.99, another game done by Obsidian. Kind of a smaller scale Obsidian project that's a little bit different than a lot of the other projects that they put out. A lot of people really enjoyed it. It wasn't really my cup of tea, but the game notes step into a living illustrated world inspired by illuminated manuscripts and printed woodcuts in a time when Europe is at a crossroads of great religious and political change. Walk in the footsteps of Andreas, a mailer, a master artist who finds himself in the middle of murder, scandals, and intrigue. Experienced the 16th century Europe as the master artist of the time saw them, uncover mysteries, and impact a changing world. All that in Pentiment for $9.99. And that's going to do it for me. Again, a lot of deals under the price of $10. Links to everything, as always, will be in the description box below. As always, sound off there. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.